Hi everyone, a very good morning to you. Welcome to Monza, which is dry. There's something I didn't think I was going to say all weekend long, and it is the world final for Coppa Shell about to take to track then, where we bring together the best of all the regions, North America, Europe and Asia Pacific as well, in one final showdown race for the Gold Roof, the world champion. So all the traditional championships done, dusted, sealed and sorted. It is for the pride of the world now here at Monza, and that all the drivers will compete for. All the information at races.ferrari.com. So the 5.793 kilometre circuit awaits the brave, who will be out there in, as I say, all three regions represented. This Autodromo di Monza, iconic temple of speed, for 30 minutes. We've had one world final race already, which was dramatic, that's for sure, with lots of action and moments, and pretty much half the race behind the safety car. So in the sight of the Alps behind us, then we will see what will unfold in this Coppa Shell World Final to come. Delighted to welcome alongside me James Collado. Interesting hair this morning, James. Did one have a good night last night?
Yes. I just arrived. No, a great night. Yep.
It was nice to see you. It was nice to see you up on the stage, along with all the GT drivers and all the great and good, of course, of Ferrari. And there's a team member certainly enjoying himself there. It's got
looks a bit like me last night, I think.
Yeah. It was. The gala dinner, which is part of Finale Mondiale, is always something very, very special indeed, where all the champions are represented and in front of a huge audience, and it's a really nice, glittering night. It's great. I always wonder at the sense of having it on the Saturday night rather than the Sunday night, James, when we've got to work on the Sunday. But nonetheless, it's a good event, isn't it?
Great event, yeah, and it's great to see everyone there. You know, everyone's celebrating. It was a really good evening.
Maurizio Arrivabene from Scuderia Ferrari with us as well. And there is the Hublot safety car ready to lead these cars away on the formation lap. Of course, always a rolling start in the Ferrari Challenge. And I was making the point, we had Tony Verlander with us, James, one of your GT racing colleagues, for our first world final just a while ago. And he was saying that because the track is dry and no prospect of rain, actually for a lot of these drivers, they've got no reference. They've not had a lot of dry running this weekend.
No, I mean, yeah, first time on slicks, obviously, and yeah, with no practice, it's a bit of an unknown, especially when you're going into turn one. You're not sure how much grip you've got, lines, things like that. So it's the same for everyone, obviously, but it could make the race more exciting, that's for sure.
And it is really going to be a fight going into that first chicane between Christoph Herney, Thomas Tippel, Eric Prinot and Tani Hanna. You've got Asia Pacific, North America and Europe all represented across the first two rows. And there is the Thomas Tippel car. He was just one of the many drivers on the stage yesterday at this glittering gala finale Mondiale dinner. And held his trophy aloft, and one of the most vibrant celebrants when it comes to the top step of the podium, that's for sure. And well, around about 35 minutes from now, we'll ascertain whether Thomas Tippel will be on the top step this time. Eric Prinot's going to be a danger man, one to watch from P3 on the grid, as is Tani Hanna from P4. Then we find Christian Kinch and Manuela Gosner and Thomas Gosner and Eric Chung and Vladimir Hladek. There's a lot of talent through the grid, that's for sure, and a number of drivers will be trying to make their way up the order, but it's Christoph Herney that has the honour of being on pole position. On 25 cars or so for 30 minutes here at Monza. So it was also announced, of course, last night at that gala dinner that for the first time, James, in its history, the Ferrari Challenge is going to have its own dedicated UK series.
No, that's amazing. That's really, really good. I'm sure there's a lot of interest, and I look forward to going to the races, helping out, and yeah, it's obviously a growing championship around the world. So, no, looking forward to that, and yeah, I'm sure I'll be at Silverstone more often now.
A good calendar, and an interesting one, because we have Brands Hatch and Silverstone, and we also have Croft,
I miss those tracks. I miss
And
driving those.
Snetterton.
And Snetterton. Brilliant tracks.
Well, that's all to be looked forward to in 2019. Here are the FXX cars. Take a look at these. They are extraordinary, evolutionary cars, James. And of course, René Arnoux drives one of them.
Yes, he does. Legend.
Yeah, isn't he? Great guy as well.
Great guy, yeah. Great guy.
Those cars, along with the F1 Clienti cars that make an appearance here at Monza in this Finale Mondiale event. And what a thrill that must be to be an F1 client and have your own F1 car from Scuderia. Here is our pole sitter then, Christophe Herny from Team Sion Lausanne. And Christophe Herny has the honour of pole position. He will have Thomas Tippel alongside him, and I think it's going to be a very interesting fight going into that turn number one. Here's Manuela Gosner then, going from P6 on the grid. And Manu in a better temper today than she was after the race yesterday. And she has her father, Thomas Gosner, right behind her. Going from P7 on the grid, then it's Eric Chung and Vladimir Hladek before Manuela's sister Corinna that will go from P10. Really interesting, the Gosner family, James, because there's a father, two daughters and son sometimes races as well. I mean, that's keeping it in the family big style, isn't it?
Big time, yeah.
Quite a bill, I would think, as well.
We saw an angry dad yesterday, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yes, we did, and you knew what he said, and that's where you're better than me, because I didn't.
Which was not repeatable on air.
So, to the left-hand side of your picture, there's like the Ferrari garden, James, which has got those lovely SP cars in, and there is Davide Rigon and Andrea Bertolini just behind him, and we are just a few seconds away now from the cars being released on their formation lap for this World Final race. So the world final for the Coppa Shell drivers, Christophe Herny, Thomas Tippel. Then on the front row of the grid, then it's Eric Prinot and Tanny Hanna, who of course was victorious yesterday. Christian Kinch and Manuela Gosner occupy and complete then the first three rows of this big grid of cars. Then it's Thomas Gosner and Eric Chung. Then we see Hladek and Gosner and Wu and Zing, who occupy rows 4 through to 6. Ahead of Guy 4 and Rick Lovett and Ernst Kirschmeyer, and then it's Fuller and Skelterma and Carell going from P13 back to P18 of this 25-strong grid of cars. Wong and Yamaguchi, Tommy Lindroth and Kimeneski, Greg Palermo and Varwig then. And then bringing up the rear of the grid is Louis Perescoya, who's the final entrant into this world final. As our heli then takes us back, we can just see the iconic banking to the right-hand side of your picture there. And not everyone, of course, here at this circuit, which is located within the Royal Park. It's an extraordinary place for a racing circuit, actually, isn't it?
It's an amazing place. It's such a nice track to drive as well. It's so high speed, big braking points, Parabolica obviously very famous, last corner, so great place to be.
I bet you run around the park as well, don't you?
Used to. Getting old now.
Oh, sorry. Okay, you can see that the grid is being cleared now as people make their way down the pit lane. Then looking back from the Hublot safety car, the pack of cars then ready to do battle. Christophe Herny, Thomas Tippel then on the front row. All the championships have been decided. Therefore, when it comes to the world final race, it is the pride of the three regions, and to be the genuine world champion, James, with the pressure off, does it mean you go into this with a different mindset? Am I talking absolute rubbish? No, this is a race like any other, Dave. Everyone wants to win it.
I think, yeah, maybe a bit less pressure, but everyone wants to win, don't they? As soon as you start the engine, leave, you just go into this sort of mindset where you just need to race. You don't think about anything else other than just trying to do the best job you can. So,
an interesting anecdote is Von Skeltermar, who's going from P17 on the grid, had a torrid time of it yesterday through absolutely no fault of his own. There was some tyre issue with the tyres that had been allocated, and that completely and totally compromised his race. And he was so grumpy yesterday that he vowed that he wasn't going to race today. And this is where a driver coach is very, very good, because his driver coach said, come on, you're not going to end the season on a low. You've got to go out there and you've got to do the race, and you'll actually... Otherwise, you'll reflect on, you know, the only thing you'll remember is the fact that you were really disappointed.
Yeah, no, it's the right thing to do. I mean, things like that happen. You know, other people make mistakes, but no, it's good to see him on the grid. And yeah, he'd have regretted not racing, that's for sure.
So there, the 3-2-1 car of Thomas Tipple. Then, great fun guy is Thomas, and he is the Coppa Shell champion for North America. And would love to add the world final to his tally of success this season as well. But of course, Christoph Ernie's going to do his level best to prevent that. The season he has had as well. So the Hublot safety car roars away then. And Thomas Tipple out the starting blocks very quickly on the formation lap, that's for sure. The Hublot safety car driven by former Ferrari Challenge champion Beppe Scanetti, who himself is one mean driver, I can tell you. And the cars make their way then through the first chicane, first pinch point on this circuit. All weave from side to side. There is Rick Lovett, who had a torrid time of it yesterday. And as all the social media appears at the top of your screen, where you can be part of the Ferrari Challenge and the Finale Mondiale weekend, and we would urge you to do that. So this then 30-minute race ahead of them for the pride of the regions. North America, Asia Pacific and Europe all represented in this world final race. And of course the big Ferrari show to come here at Monza this afternoon as well, featuring our official GT drivers and of course F1 cars as well. And I'm assuming that actually you'll be putting your crash helmet on, James.
I will be, yes, I will be.
Good, looking forward to that already. So 25 cars then to battle for this. There is the Tommy Lindroth car number 127. You could just go see going through there, one of the European drivers, and many people making their way into the Monza circuit already for this world final event. An awful lot for them to see, do, and enjoy, not only on track but off track as well, with a huge paddock display in the mammoth Ferrari garden as well, with some of the iconic cars that have raced here at Monza over the years on display, as well as the very latest offerings, of course, from Ferrari. So the lighting gantry is lit up with 5 red lights, and when the lights go to green, of course, we will be away and racing. Danny Hanna is going to be a danger man from P4 on the grid. So too, potentially, Eric Prenot from P3 on the grid. So as the cars line up in grid formation behind the safety car, it will peel off into the pit lane. It will be the responsibility of Christoph Ernie and Thomas Tipple to control the pace of the rolling start. Stand by. World final for Coppa Shell is on its way. The Hublot safety car accelerates and escapes into the pit lane. It is the responsibility of Christoph Ernie and Thomas Tipple now. 25 cars ready to battle for the world final as the lights go green. Good start from Manu Gostner then, who looks pretty lively right at the start of the race. Christoph Ernie got his nose in front at the moment, but just behind one I said to keep an eye on is potentially Tanny Hanna. He could be in P2 before they get into the chicane. For the first time of asking, there is a connection with one of the Formula Racing cars there. And thankfully, the Eric Chung car, well, I was going to say it was going to stay out there on track. He's now sideways across the track. He's had a torrid weekend, has Eric Chung. There's damage for Eric Prinot as well. He got caught up in that. Tanny Hanna, as I said, is up into P2. Here comes Eric Prinot on the inside of Christian Kinch, and there's contact between those two. Kinch has to shortcut the chicane. Vladimir Hladik behind is trying to make up the order as well. So the order is, and I did say Manuela Gostner had a fantastic start. She is P3. And there you can see the race is over for the Jan Benzing car. And surely that will be a safety car, James.
Yeah.
Eric Chung is out as well, and that's a great shame. As I say, he's had a rotten weekend. He hasn't felt at his best, that's for sure. He's had a bit of a fever. Well, his world final race, unfortunately, brought to a rapid conclusion as Eric Prinot. That was a huge impact there.
What happened there? Oh, wow, that is huge. I hope he's okay.
Now, we saw smoke coming off, and therefore we think that the tyre just destroyed. And Eric Prinot, and this could be his last race of his Ferrari Challenge career, because he'd said it's retirement for him, he felt. Well, we can see Eric Chung walking away okay, and hopefully we'll get a replay of that Eric Prinot situation. I wonder, James, whether it was. I saw the tyre smoke, and I just wonder whether the tyre let go.
I can only imagine, yeah, it let go, and it was so instant, wasn't it? I need to see a replay, but...
Eric's out of the car and it's okay.
That was, I mean, there's no front end on that. I can only imagine it was a tyre at the end of the straight.
That would have been at a fair speed, James.
Yeah, yeah.
Goodness me.
Yeah.
Great to see that Eric is perfectly okay. Safety car has been deployed, no surprise there. Well, we picked up on the fact that he'd been involved somehow in the opening few meters. And here we'll maybe be able to get a better judge. You can see the Eric Prinot car there alongside Tanny Hanna. Tanny Hanna gets ahead of Eric Prinot.
There was contact there.
Yeah. He'd had this battle with Christian Kinch, and that was the last one we'd seen with him up against Christian Kinch. So Christian Kinch is ahead. Eric is looking for somewhere to go, isn't he? That's the contact on Eric Chung.
It was literally just a little tap on that back right there, left, and
then he receives a huge one there, and that turns him around, and he's broadside across the rest of the track, isn't he?
Blimey, that was a big crash.
So we will see in replay again, I'm sure, the situation concerning Eric Prinot. So everyone there avoiding action or trying to get past the stricken Eric Chung car.
Here we go. Wow. Can only, his tyre's not there, is it?
No.
Let go.
And look at the debris all over the track, and there is the tyre, isn't it?
Yep.
Oof. That was the contact on Eric Chung that we saw from the Yamid Zing car. We're looking backwards from Manuela Gostner then. And there on the MP Racing, Ineco MP Racing pit wall, there's Eric Chung. His racing season now done and dusted for Formula Racing, and regrettably, he will take no further part in this world final race. There's Corinna, his wife, who will, of course, at this point just be thrilled to see that Eric is perfectly okay and making his way back to the paddock. You just see Niklas Nielsen to the left-hand side of your picture as well. The race brought under control of the safety car. Is there any... Look at the leaves across the track, James. We talked about this yesterday, didn't we?
Yeah.
Has the fact that, and sorry, I brought this up right at the start of our program, has the fact that none of the drivers have had any dry running, is that a factor?
Yeah, I think that's why we've seen so much action. You don't know where to brake. I mean, it's...
You've got no reference.
You've got no reference. You're trying to gain places, and... yeah, I mean, there was a lot of contact. But yeah, that was huge. I mean, I can't imagine the speed. I mean, he must have just braked and gone literally directly to the right, and
yeah. Well, pleasingly, we've seen Eric Prenot out of the car, and he is perfectly okay, which is, there's Eric's partner, Monica. Of course, a look of concern across her face, but hopefully she's seen the images that we've seen, that Eric is perfectly okay and has walked away from the car, which lends me to say how creditworthy the safety and the integral safety, and I know, James, how we discussed yesterday, you and many other drivers played a huge part in this car, and it's an extremely strong and very, very well built and safe racing car.
It is safe. I mean, I was saying yesterday, I had a big crash in the 458, and I hurt myself quite badly in Le Mans, and straight away wrote an email to the guy saying that maybe we can improve for the future, some different parts on the car, maybe change some little bits, and this new 488 is very safe. And I mean, clearly, I mean, he hit that barrier hard, and he's just walked out of it. So extremely safe car, very well made, and obviously adapted to.
How good is it for you? And the senior vice president of marketing on stage last night, Enrico Galliero, said that actually, as Ferrari, we do listen to people, and you know, for you as a driver to be able to say, look, you know, if we'd done this, this would make things a little bit better. You know, it must be very rewarding that your information is taken on board. Especially
at Ferrari as well, because they don't take criticism that well. But no, they do listen, and obviously we won the world title last year, and we have a great bunch of guys around us all doing a good job. So our feedback is vital, and
we're looking at a replay of the start. Oh, and that was the Jan Binzing car on Eric Chung.
Safety car in this lap.
Wow, we're going back to racing. They've done well clearing up the debris from a couple of different incidents there very, very quickly. So well done to the marshalling team around the circuit, without whom, of course, none of us would enjoy this phenomenal sport that is motor racing, and we are grateful to them all around the world for the work that they do. So Christoph Ernie, Tanni Hanna, Manuela Gostner, Thomas Tippel, who lost out right at the start of the race, but just have a feeling he may want to be coming back here. This is not the restart, this is a replay of the start sequence. Cars moving around a lot, and at some points, James, they're four abreast, aren't they, heading up towards that chicane?
Yes.
So now the safety car has got up the road and is making its way around the parabolica now, and will peel off into the pit lane. And the rule is Christoph Ernie will control the pace of the rolling lap, but I think the deal is, James, that once you've accelerated, you have to stay accelerated. You can't go and ease off and then go again.
No, definitely can't.
Tanni Hanna has anticipated it really rather well, because he's right on Christoph Ernie as they head now to the chicane for the first time of asking following the safety car intervention. Safety car called out on lap one. The order is Christoph Ernie, then it is Tanni Hanna. But look at this, Manuela Gostner is up on the inside of Tanni Hanna now. If she can scrub the speed. Tanni Hanna does give just racing room, and he will have the inside line and is able to firmly shut the door. And of course, that allows Thomas Tippel the opportunity to come back at Manuela Gostner now, but he's going to have to be really brave around the Curva Grande on the outside, James.
That was good racing. Tanni gave her room there, and yeah, they came out of that cleanly, and it was close.
Someone threw the gravel at the back there.
Yes.
I'm not sure that wasn't Thomas Gostner. There's Ernst Kirchmeier then in car 109, but Christoph Ernie leading from Tanni Hanna and Manuela Gostner, and then it's Thomas Tippel and Christian Kinch and Vladimir Hladek, and the Ernst Kirchmeier car that we saw. Vladimir Hladek is someone that extraordinarily mid-race he comes on strong. He kind of has this window in the middle of the race where Vladimir Hladek is at his most aggressive and best, in my opinion, so he'll be one to watch. He's running in P6 at the moment. Christoph Ernie, of course, trying to escape up the road and build up a margin between himself and Tanni Hanna, and they're all going through that already. Look,
yeah, there was so much. They didn't clean the debris off the track.
So many leaves, and you can see the cooling vents on the front of these 488 Challenge cars filled up with that foliage already. So Christoph Herney then, what's he got? He's got 6/10 on Tanny Hanna, and Manuela Gosner, again, lively with the fast pedal. She's almost on the back of Tanny Hanna as they go around the back end of the paddock and into the Parabolica once again. And we'll put another lap in the book. And Tanny Hanna now, is he reeling in? Christoph Herney is going to close enough to get a bit of a tow, James?
Probably not this time.
No, okay.
But you never know.
So
some defence.
Christian Kinch on the inside of Thomas Tipple there, looking at that P4 position. So Tanny Hanna, who's been racing, of course, in the Asia Pacific series this year, sets the fastest lap. But he has got much European racing experience as well, and I think that's fair to say that you can see that playing out in terms of where he is in this world final race. So again, he reels in Christoph Herney. There is Ernst Kirschmeyer and Vladimir Hladik and Christian Kinch all together. There is the 144 car of Vladimir Hladik, who's had as many highs as he's had lows in this particular season of Ferrari Challenge racing. And Herney is not able to break away from Hanna here, you know. So wherever Christoph Herney is putting the car, Tanny Hanna is making sure that Christoph Herney's rear view mirrors is full of that 557 car. So the live gap then we will get right now, tiny, absolutely tiny between the two of them. And Tanny Hanna, I think he's got the pace advantage, but it's all very well having the pace advantage, James. You've got to get by, haven't you?
Yeah, it's difficult. It is difficult. But he does seem to be quicker.
So the P4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 cars being lost a little bit because the pace that these two are showing.
He's got a good run now.
Do you think?
Yep.
Okay, is this going to be the one then? Christoph Herney immediately takes that inside line and hugs the inside white line. Then the car drifts out to the very middle of the track, really denying Tanny Hanna either the inside or outside, James. 271 kilometers per hour through the speed trap and into the chicane, where Tanny is just a little bit more aggressive, and he caught the curb, didn't he, and then had to catch the slide.
That was definitely a moment.
Well, he controlled it nicely. This is Thomas Tipple now with the fastest lap, a 1:53.315. Of course, the track will evolve a little bit, won't it? Once
it will, yeah. Lap by lap.
More rubber down.
Yeah, lap by lap. More rubber. The track will be so green now after all the rain we've had. It'll be like driving on ice. You'll find that the fastest laps will come right at the end, even with the used tyres.
Okay. So Manu Gosner then, P3, defending that place from Thomas Tipple. This battle for P1 is between Christoph Herney and Tanny Hanna. They're not quite as close as they have been, and that by virtue of the fact that Tanny Hanna had to control the sliding car, just caught the car on the curb, and that upset the back end of it, and he held on to it very, very well. But that means he's not as close to Christoph Herney as he's been on previous laps. Getting more lively perhaps towards Manuela Gosner is Thomas Tipple here. And Christian Kinch driving very well in P5 ahead of Vladimir Hladik. Ernst Kirschmeyer, von Skeltermar is P8, Guy 4 is P9, and then Corinna Gosner rounds out the top 10 at the moment. And the closest battle is for P3, isn't it? As now Thomas Tipple dives to the inside. He'll never be able to... He will. Wow, I didn't think for a moment, James.
I thought he was going straight on.
Wow, that was a brilliant overtake, Thomas Tipple. We take it all back. You knew exactly what you were doing. And he has put himself ahead of Manu Gosner now, so he's P3. So Thomas Tipple, then the North American Coppa Shell champion, finds himself in a podium place. And already the first half of the race is done and dusted. The battle for P6, Vladimir Hladik and Ernst Kirschmeyer. Vladimir Hladik not seemingly able to reel in Christian Kinch at the moment. So Christoph Herney has just built about 8/10 between himself and Tanny Hanna. And And Christoph Herney is a hugely experienced racing driver, not only in GT cars and tin tops, but also Formula racing cars as well. I think I mentioned to you yesterday, James, one of the oldest competitors in GP2, back in his 40s, I think he was. It's extraordinary, isn't it? So, you know, he has got lots and lots of racing experience. So when he gets his nose in front, he's difficult to dislodge. He's just gone quicker than anyone, hasn't he? 1:52.3 from Christoph Herney. Of course, he's got the clear track ahead of him. There's Tanny Hanna in P2. So Christoph Herney from Team Zenith Sion, recipients on the stage last night at the prize-giving dinner. And the gap between Christoph Herney and Tanny Hanna on screen, as you can see. So the first 7 cars in the race have broken away from the rest of the pack somehow, and Vladimir Hladik and Ernst Kirchmayr are side by side here. Ernst Kirchmayr tries to put himself ahead of Vladimir Hladik, and that's exactly what I thought was going to happen with Thomas Tippel. And Vladimir squeezes Ernst Kirchmayr to the outside, so they are side by side now, heading up towards the chicane. But Kirchmayr got a bit of a slingshot, didn't he, and kept his foot in, and was able to put himself ahead of Vladimir Hladik. Cars really are loose at the front end when you brake, James.
It's bumpy going into turn 1 here. It's always a challenge that we have.
So Hladik puts himself back ahead of Ernst Kirchmayr now, and this is a fight for that P6 place between these two. There's Herney then, seemingly quite comfortable with a 1.5 second margin. Thomas Tippel now is beginning to get on terms with Tanny Hanna. So Kirchmayr again showing his face to Vladimir Hladik. And presumably when you're this aggressive in a fight, James, that come the very end of the race, you're going to have taken a bit more out of your rubber than other drivers who are smoother.
Yeah, it's something, I mean, tyre deck is obviously a huge thing, but position, is it more important? I mean, it's so complicated, but yeah, for sure, if you're more aggressive trying to get past someone, then you're using more of the tyre, and you'll suffer at the end of the race.
12.5 minutes remain. Can Thomas Tippel get onto the back of Tanny Hanna, and he now sets the fastest lap, as indicated by James Collado alongside me during the course of the race. As the track rubs in a bit more, even allowing for the degradation of the tyres, the cars will get quicker and fastest laps will come towards the end of the race, as Thomas Tippel just looks at the inside of Tanny Hanna, wasn't close enough to be able to really make that stick. And for the moment, Vladimir Hladik showing a clean pair of heels to Ernst Kirchmayr just behind. And Ernst Kirchmayr in his first season of Ferrari Challenge racing has really acquitted himself well, heading up towards the timing line now to put another lap in the book of a race led by Christoph Herney, who has 1.7 seconds over Tanny Hanna in P2. But Thomas Tippel is now really beginning to harry Tanny Hanna ahead of him, and Ernst Kirchmayr hasn't given up the chance of trying to get that P6 position away. And thankfully there is Eric Prinot, who had that huge incident, and Ernst Kirchmayr then going towards the Parabolica clearly wasn't going to be able to make the turn. So Hanna then now can't take the attack to Christoph Herney, even if he wanted to, because he's having to defend, and defend against the Thomas Tippel. So two champions for Asia Pacific and North America in their own little fight here. But it's not for the top step of the podium, it is for the second step of the podium at the moment. And it's Asia Pacific ahead of North America currently. So we have Europe leading from Asia Pacific, then North America, the 1, 2, 3 with Christoph Herney, Tanny Hanna and Thomas Tippel. And there you can see the colour indications on the graphics. Tanny Hanna, the big winner in the start of the race. And now being chased down by Thomas Tippel. Manu Gersner and Christian Kinch together in P4 and P5, ahead of Vladimir Hladik, who's now breaking a bit of a gap ahead of Ernst Kirchmayr, who's one of the big success stories as Thomas Tippel tries to go through on Tanny Hanna, but did carry too much speed there. And Tanny Hanna was just able to let that go and then get underneath the Thomas Tippel car and come back. And of course now Thomas Tipple has lost a bit of momentum as a consequence of that, so Tanny Hanna will be pretty pleased that he was able to control that really quite nicely. It's always a gamble, and on this occasion it didn't pay off for Thomas Tipple. On the previous lap, James, it did, but just on this occasion he really was too quick going into that parabolica and lost out. So Manuel Agostner and Christian Kinch, P4 and P5. So there is Christian Kinch. So Mark Fuller, I'm being told, is slow on track and therefore is going to be one to avoid. So Christian Kinch then in car number 128, and there's the reason why. Damage to the front. He's got
front
a puncture.
right, yeah, puncture.
Puncture as well, James. Durability of these tyres generally is good, and it's unusual for. But there we are.
Yeah.
We have
Monza's the biggest test.
Yeah.
Highest speed.
When you, and it's an oft-used description, isn't it? This tyre degradation. You know, clearly you feel that through the steering, James. You know, where once you would be able to turn in at a certain point, or you actually lap by lap by lap, you feel the car changing or its characteristics changing, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge difference between fresh tyres and old tyres, and yeah, lap by lap, you just feel disappointed that you just can't do the same as you did the lap before. But
and what's the relationship like between the tyre deg and the fuel load reducing? Because,
well, that's something where we're strong in the WEC, is that we're able to be consistent lap by lap. We can do the same lap times with the fuel effect, and some others have worse deg. It depends where you are, really, what track you're on, how much grip you've got, but you tend to have slower lap times towards the end, just purely on tyre degradation, because we literally we are doing quali laps every single lap, and
which is extraordinary in itself.
Yeah, exactly.
And presumably there are some track surfaces that are more abrasive than others and will take more.
Exactly, yeah.
That is Manuel Agostner that we were looking at there in that P4 place, broken away from Christian Kinch a bit, and Vladimir Haladek and Ernst Kirchmeier still fairly close to being welded together. Christian Kinch taking quite a lot of curb there. Christoph Ernie with a 1.5 second margin over Tanny Hanna. And what's really interesting is that the Thomas Tipple overtake, or the try for Thomas Tipple's overtake on Tanny Hanna in the parabolica has actually cost him quite a lot, because he hasn't had the pace since then to take it almost to Tanny Hanna. You know, it just slows you so much that you can't claw back that gap that you end up creating.
Yeah. I think Tanny's found his rhythm. He's matching lap times of P1, so...
That Vladimir Haladek car and Ernst Kirchmeier car, it's like the bucket of a JCB in terms of the leaves that are in the cooling ducts. I mean, look. That must make the car run hotter, James.
Yeah, it will.
I mean, we have a cooler ambient, I guess, so that will help.
Ambient, which helps, obviously. What we've got here.
So the front end of the car looking decidedly wobbly there, but Tiger Wu has done it and has put himself ahead of Tommy Lindroth. And from the heli then, we look at the start-finish straight here at Monza, with 6 minutes on the clock remaining for Christoph Ernie and for Tanny Hanna, P1 and P2. P3 is Thomas Tipple, then it's Manuel Agostner, Christian Kinch. We'll round out the top 10 for you, because Vladimir Haladek is P6, Ernst Kirchmeier P7, von Skeltemar P8, and then a pair of Agostners, Corinna and Thomas P9 and P10. So every one of the Agostner family in the top 10, and Vladimir Haladek went to turn in and then realised the gap that he wanted was full of that Ernst Kirchmeier car.
Yeah, he did a good job there moving out of the way, but could have so easily gone wrong there.
Yeah, and you know, that's another thing about racing and experience, isn't it? It's awareness of who's around you and where they are, because there are more than one occasions where we've seen that, where somebody would turn in, there would be contact, and you both end up sideways.
good move.
To be fair, that was, wasn't it? And Ernst is certainly not. He doesn't have the experience of Vladimir Hladik in terms of racing. So well done to him and their disappointment, because the race is over, and Mark Fuller then walks away from the car. His season done and dusted. Is Vladimir Hladik going to try and have a go back at Ernst Kirchmayr here, because he's had that P6 place taken away? And let's see as they head towards the Parabolica, is there anything he can do? Well, he's not close enough. Ernst Kirchmayr then has still got the pace in the car, that's for sure, in the final stages of this race, where Christoph Hörni is leading by a margin of 1.8 seconds over Tani Hanna, who's P2, and Thomas Tippel, who is P3. So Vladimir Hladik then not as close to Ernst Kirchmayr. He's going to have a look at the inside here. King of the late breakers, potentially.
For sure.
Now, that was almost exactly what I was saying about awareness.
Yeah, but he couldn't stop. I mean,
no. Well,
that would be a penalty, I'd imagine.
If you sat in the steward's room now, as you have done on a number of occasions this year, James, your advice would be that would be a penalty.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he kind of backed out of it, but then realised he couldn't. He was going in too quick. Yeah, so that's unfortunate.
Well, we'll see what we get on the message screen before the end of the race. Hörni, Hanna, Tippel then. All three regions will be represented on the podium if it stays this way. So there is the Ernst Kirchmayr car pirouetting around. Vladimir Hladik, contact between the two of them, and Vladimir then puts himself ahead of Ernst Kirchmayr, but in the cleanest way possible. So there is Christoph Hörni then, and the top five all within that camera shot. You can see how they've broken away from Hladik and Ernst Kirchmayr now, because of course they were somewhat delayed making their way through that chicane. So Hörni then, who, to be fair, James, he has not put a foot wrong, has he? You know, every single corner.
So far, so good, yeah.
And has been consistently quick in the 153.1s, whereas everyone else is not as quick. In fact, it's only that, although after saying that, Christian Kinch has just pulled a 152.729. So Tani Hanna through the speed trap delivers 282 kilometers per hour. That's not sluggish, is it?
That's quick, yeah. I was doing hot laps yesterday. I was trying to get the highest top speed I could in the road car. It meant braking really late into turn one, but I think I got about 272 or something in the road car.
And some poor unsuspecting passenger was alongside you.
Yeah, yes, unfortunately, yes.
Christian Kinch, I just mentioned, he's gone quicker now than any, he's in the 152s, but he's going to run out of laps, because we've got this lap and, or the remainder of this lap, plus one more, I would suggest, before we get the checkered flag. So I think Christian Kinch is probably going to run out of time to try and overhaul Manu Gosner, who is P4 at the moment. So Christian Kinch then, who's missed a number of events this season through business commitments, but has looked very feisty when he has been on track, and this man has been utterly faultless. Christoph Hörni then leading by 1.6 seconds over Tani Hanna. Now, is Thomas Tippel going to find something from somewhere in the final stages of this race to try and take the battle to Tani Hanna for the second step on the podium and take away that P2 world final place from Asia Pacific and send it in the direction of North America? Well, they take very different lines through the Parabolica before they head out onto the start-finish straight for what I think will be the last lap. And Christoph Hörni has crossed the timing line, and sure enough, it is the last lap. And so it's now or never for Thomas Tippel. Tani Hanna then. And Thomas Tippel taking a look at the inside. I almost didn't dare say anything, James. So Thomas Tippel unsuccessful there. All Tani Hanna has got to do, I say all he's got to do, is stick his elbows out and make that 488 a bit wider than it is to prevent him coming by. Christoph Herney with back-marking traffic to get ahead now.
Ooh.
This could play a part here, you know, but...
Oh no, Tanny's gone straight on.
Well, now in that battle, that
Oh, no.
might have done for him.
Oh,
Because Thomas Tippel on the inside, Tanny has lost...
Oh,
Oh no!
No.
Having done so well!
oh, Tanny, no. Oh, last lap.
Oh, that is... Well, it must be infuriating.
Oh, he's off again.
I'm bereft of words, Mr. Collado. But I was wanting to say, has he got a deflated tyre? But he hasn't. It's errors, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh,
Well,
no.
now Manu Gosner then is going to be P3 in this world final if it stays this way, and there's no telling, truthfully, because Tanny Hanna has just gone round and around like a Jackie Graham song. Christoph Herney P1, Thomas Tippel P2, and Christoph Herney is going to become world champion and takes the checkered flag for Europe. And Team Zenith Scion, he takes the world championship ahead of Thomas Tippel. And here comes Manuela Gosner, P3 in the world championship, ahead of Christian Kinch. And then it's going to be Vladimir Hladik. Where is Tanny Hanna going to cross the line? It's going to be P6, James.
Oh, I can't believe it. All because of the back marker. Oh, it happens though, it happens. It's racing.
Wow. And then the worst of it was, James, I thought as he pirouetted round, I thought he was going to be collected.
Yeah. Well, luckily he wasn't.
Well, there we have it. World final race done and dusted. Are you staying with me? You're on trophy presentation duties.
Yes.
You're going to go and get ready on the podium. It's
Yes,
non-stop excitement for you, isn't it? Thank you very much. James Collado with us on air. Really grateful to you. He'll go off and we'll see him in a few moments then on the podium. And car 144 is going to get a time penalty of plus 10 seconds for causing a collision. So that is going to drop Vladimir Hladik down the order. And, well, Tanny Hanna will advance himself one place. It will be P5 for him in the end, but it's certainly not a podium. There is Christoph Herney then for Team Zenith Scion, and Thomas Tippel is P2, and Manu Gosner then is P3, which means we have Europe and North America on the podium. And due to Tanny Hanna's incidents towards the end of the race, he, of course, will not represent Asia Pacific on the podium. So an end to the season of delight for Manu Gosner then, who has taken her first win and has won a couple now, and now finds herself P3 in the world final. So Christoph Herney, though, crowns the most exceptional year of racing for him in the Ferrari Challenge by being the world champion. That was the Coppa Shell World Championship race. Herney, Tippel and Manu Gosner ahead of Christian Kinch, Tanny Hanna, Ernst Kirschmeyer, von Skeltermar, P7. Then it was Vladimir Hladik, because, of course, he's been dropped with that 10-second time penalty, ahead of Corinna Gosner and Thomas Gosner rounding out the top 10. So it remains all three Gosners competing in the top 10 of the world final. That's something to be celebrated. So all the cars together there, as you can see. First 8 of them making their way round to the Parc Fermé area on their slowing down lap. Following this, we still have a Trofeo Pirelli world final to come as well. So the cars will peel off into the pit lane now and park up in the Parc Fermé area. And we'll get confirmation of the classification of that race. So the Ferrari Garden to the left-hand side of the screen, as you can see. Here is the classification, as I promised. Christoph Herney taking the win from Thomas Tippel. So Christoph Herney for Europe, Thomas Tippel for North America, then Manuela Gosner for Europe. Then it was Christian Kinch and Tanny Hanna, the best-placed Asian Pacific driver. It's P5 in the end, ahead of Ernst Kirschmeyer, von Skeltermar, Vladimir Hladik, Corinna Gosner and Thomas Gosner, and then it was Guy 4, Yamaguchi, Carell, Palomo, Rick Lovett, Tommy Lindroth, etc., etc. And there is Christoph Herney then. On top of the car, come on, Christoph. Oh, hang on, need a hand here. Well done, Manuela Gosner. Congratulated by Massimo Pepe, of course, team principal of Ineco MP Racing, and there is Thomas Tipple. You'll recall from him being on the podium yesterday, who broke with tradition and said, to heck with the photographs, I'm going with the champagne already, even before the trophies have been presented. It's fine. Presumably it is his right. So, Manu then receiving congratulations all round. Rounds out a fantastic season for her. Daniele Diamato, former Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli champion there, to offer his congratulations. Bernie Tipple Gosner then, the cars in that Parc Ferme area. Well, again, another race full of drama all the way through it, really, and let's relive some of the drama with the highlights package right now. So as the cars lined up on the grid for the Coppa Shell World Final, some of the engineers were having a jolly good time down there. Formation lap was underway. Rolling start, as always, for Ferrari Challenge, which means that, of course, the first chicane is always going to be a pinch point. At one point, they were 5 abreast. This connection on the Eric Chung and Eric Prinot car would have serious consequences, especially for Eric Prinot, as you will see in just a few moments. It had immediate consequences for Eric Chung. He regrettably would have to retire the car. But then, that was the consequence that I was talking about. As the rubber of Eric Prinot's tyre left his car, he ended up with a huge impact. But thankfully, all drivers perfectly okay. Of course, the safety car was called for, and there you can see Eric Prinot was out of the car, and the only thing dented was the fact that the tyre had let go for him. So when we got to the restart, Tanni Hanna was looking pretty lively, but so too was Manuela Gosner. And Tanni Hanna would chase Christoph Herney for the first few laps after the restart, and Ernst Kirschmeyer and Vladimir Hladik had such a fight. Eric Prinot back on the pit wall, perfectly okay, and well, it was an opportunity for Thomas Tipple to get the better of Tanni Hanna, but he carried really rather too much speed into the Parabolica, and there was lots going on whichever way you looked, and this was Tiger Wu on the inside who managed to scrub the speed off successfully and put himself ahead of the Tommy Lindroth car. Interesting shades, not necessary this weekend. Vladimir Hladik did avoid Ernst Kirschmeyer. However, on this occasion, Ernst Kirschmeyer putting himself ahead, but now, fortunately, Vladimir Hladik and Ernst Kirschmeyer would take and trade some paint, and Tanni Hanna then a series of errors here. How did he not get collected by another car? It meant that it was going to be a P5 finish rather than a podium. But Christoph Herney would win from Thomas Tipple and Manuela Gosner. So we're back with the live pictures now, and we're standing by to go up to the podium to see one Mr. James Collado, who has been alongside us in comms, make the trophy presentations, or be part of the trophy presentation team. So podium is next here, live from Monza. The driver's been called out onto the podium here, and as you can see from our heli shot there, the podium, of course, sits right above the track and the pit lane, and Therefore, it's one of the podiums that he's most talked about in motor racing. And we're standing by. The drivers are in the podium prep room as we speak, taking on some water. And Manuel Agosna is going to be on the third step of that podium. Thomas Tippel will be on step 2. But, of course, on the top step, it will be Christoph Herney. Ferrariista here to enjoy this finale Mondiale weekend here at Monza. And there is Christoph Herney. Thomas Tippel takes on some water. And the drivers be called out by Michele Mambelli. And there, thank goodness, Eric Prinot perfectly okay after that huge crash. And unfortunately, it does possibly mean that that's the last we've seen of Eric Prinot racing, because he has said that this would be his last race weekend, and it's such a shame for it to go and end on such a low note rather than a high note. Manuela Gosner certainly hitting the high notes with her arms there in celebration. There is Thomas Tippel. It's P2. And Christoph Herney will positively bounce to the podium, I feel sure, for Team Zenith Scion. National anthem time. So Christoph Herney, Thomas Tippel and Manuela Gosner. She really does have a regular podium place this season. Well done, Manu. And she receives her trophy from Alessandro Pierguidi, official Ferrari GT driver, of course. Next up, James Collado then, who's feeling the woes of the lemonade last night, making the trophy presentation to Thomas Tippel. And here is Miguel Molina then to make the trophy presentation. The world final trophy to Christoph Herney. And there's Thomas Gosner, father of Manu. And as Michele tells them, everyone gets onto the top step of the podium and lift your trophy, upper your trophy. Christoph very kindly lowers his so that Thomas Tippel is in the Manuel. It's going to be first and fastest with the champagne. Great celebrations up there on the podium, a great world final. And there is David Gosner to the left-hand side there of your picture, who's a part-time Ferrari Challenge racer as well, meaning 4 members of the Gosner family race. So there we are. The next race, as you can see, the Trofeo Pirelli World Final at 11:55 GMT. But for the Coppa Shell World Final, it's done and dusted in truth. And what a race, full of drama. And I just have a feeling that the Trofeo Pirelli World Final is going to be very similar. Enough for the Ferrariista to enjoy. So, super slow-mo's the top 3. Manu Gosner then, P3. P2, the North American racer, the 2018 champion for North America, Thomas Tippel. And P1 for the car and driver combo that has been so successful this year, Christoph Herney. And the podium celebrations were among the most lively and impressive that we've seen this weekend. And Christoph Herney could almost fight a fire with the extinguisher action that he has there. And he made sure that Manuela Gosner was wearing as much champagne as she was drinking. And there was a big crowd beneath the podium to enjoy the podium celebrations, which was excellent. All part of the finale Mondiale here. And there you can see Christoph Herney about to be mic'd up for an interview. The focus of media attention on the world champion. So, from the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell drivers, thank you so much for being part of the 2018 season. All the racing is done for Coppa Shell. It's just the Trofeo Pirelli World Final to come, and of course the magnificent Ferrari show. Please make sure you join us for that. But for now, live from Monza, bye-bye.